Hey, Bill Burks here. I just wanted to do a quick video. I'm at a cell tower site in, we'll just call it Central Kentucky. And I had a really long run. I haven't measured it yet. I'm getting ready to pull the mule tape in, but I'm going to say it's about 120, 130 foot run of 2-inch rigid steel conduit that was buried from an H-frame to a carrier's telco box. And I tried fishing in, I've got to pull a mule tape in. There's an existing fiber in here. I'll just show you that small, there's an existing little, probably, what is it, a 12 strand or 6 strand, looks like a 6. But there's a small fiber in here serving this site. And part of my job for an upgrade is to pull in a mule tape so that it can pull in a new fiber. And there's more to it than that. But anyway, this is one piece of the puzzle. Well, I spent quite a bit of time, several hours. I tried to shove a fish tape in from this end to the H-frame, which is downhill, which would be the more desirable, direction to shove a fish tape. Couldn't get it. And I've been an electrician my whole life. I can fish just about anything, but I just absolutely couldn't get it. And I tried from the other direction back here, and about 30 feet in from the other direction was a blockage, but I was able to get past it and get a tape all the way to this end. And I felt like I was just in the 90 down below ground, maybe 8 or 10 feet in the pipe. And I tried running a fish tape in, and from this, once I had shoved in all the way as far as I could from both ends, then I also tried another steel fish tape down in the pipe and give it a few twists. Even though there's an active fiber in this conduit, I was really careful, and I tried to hook my fish tape that I had shoved in almost the full length. I tried hooking it with another fish tape from the other end, and I spent a lot of time on it, and only because of experience was I able to do that without damaging that existing fiber. Had there not already been a fiber in that pipe, I probably could have got really rough with it and get my fish tape to, I could probably hook onto it with another tape and pull it out. But anyway, long story short, I tried for a long time. I tried a shop vac and, basically a homemade mouse that would conform around that existing fiber cable that's in that pipe. And I was able to get that mouse all the way to the blockage that's in the pipe at the other end, about 30 feet in. I tried sucking the mouse both directions, with the shop vac at both ends. And no matter what I did, I could not get this thing. I could not get a standard steel fish tape, like a 200 foot. I had a Greenlee, I had a Klein, I had a cheap brand, whatever. But, I tried a few different tapes, thinking maybe one would do something, another wouldn't, but they were all the same. Anyway, so I went online and supported our good friends in the Communist Republic of China or whatever. But I ordered this rod. It's an 8mm fiberglass rod. I forget the exact length. It was like 485 feet long or something like that. Came on a stand. I'll show you the other end. So I'll show you this end. It's just got a chrome tip with a hole. I end up using a piece of number 12 solid wire to get my mule tape tied on, and then I'll walk around to the other end. I've got my mule tape there ready to pull in. I've got about 120 feet laid out on the ground here. But if you go to the other end, and this is not a straight run, this run follows the property line, or follows the compound, so it's got at least 2 90s in it so it's really got 4 90s, because it goes down here in this H-frame, runs all the way up to that corner, runs all the way back 70 feet, and runs back down. So it's a 120, 30, it may be 140, 150, but I think it's there in 130 feet. I'll know when I pull my tape in. But if you look, this thing's made by Vever, or however you want to say it. And believe it or not, it's a pretty quality unit. It's got a brake right here. Loosen this brake up and it'll start free spool, and it would probably empty almost this whole reel if I let this break off. Here's the other end of it. It's tucked up in a keeper. It's in there really tight. This is, like I say, it was an 8mm, and this whole system shipped to my house. I think it had free shipping. The whole thing cost me, I want to say, $129. About fell over a rock here. But anyway, it cost me about 129 bucks, including shipping. It arrived in 2 days. I don't even think I ordered it off Amazon Prime. I think I just Googled duct rotter, fiberglass duct rotter, and this thing popped up pretty quick. And they also had a 6mm that I almost ordered, because the 6mm would be a little thinner, and for what I do, going in like 1-inch duct like this right here, I just felt like, well, maybe the 6mm would be better. But then I started thinking, this run was so difficult, I better go with the 8. And if the 8 ends up being too big and can't make 90s in a 2-inch conduit, then I'll order the 6mm and try that. And if that doesn't work, I'm just going to give up and tell them I can't do it. But long story short, I showed up with this rotter. I finally figured out, how it works, because even though I've seen them my whole life, I've never used one of these. I've used a really, really big one. I think I want to say it was made by Klein, and it was really nice and fancy. This one's just fine, but the one I had used back probably in the 90s was it was bigger than 3/8 inch around. It was pretty big, and it was made, we had pulled in a fiber backbone in downtown Louisville, Kentucky for a job I had back then. And back then we were pulling in 96 strand backbone. You don't hear much about that kind of trunks anymore. But I don't know, maybe with fiber to house, maybe you do. But anyway, I don't typically work on that side of things. I typically work on the cell tower end of things. And then, the local utility or a different contractor will pull in that trunk. But I just want to do this video real quick because I set this thing up. I figured out, where the inner rod was hidden at in the reel. It wasn't too bad, but once I figured it out, and once I figured out the brake to where it didn't free spool like crazy on me, I ran this thing in, and I thought I was being careful because I didn't want this rod to come out at the other end and damage the existing fiber that's in there. So I was being kind of careful, but I felt like with my experience that it had went through the 90 and it had came up into the H-frame. So before it even stopped, I stopped pushing and I went and looked. It wasn't out yet. So I pushed until it did stop, and I went and looked. It wasn't out yet. It's like, darn it, this sucks. So I I come back to this end, and I pulled back a little bit, and I pushed, and I pulled back, and I pushed, and it kept stopping at the same spot, and I pushed pretty hard, and it wasn't going, which I'm aggravated because I know for a fact I can fish from both directions. So I'm like, why won't it make that last 90? And I went back and I kind of pulled on the existing fiber just a little bit to make sure it wasn't bound up against this rod or whatever. I came back down here and I pulled back about a foot, and then I went ahead and just pushed hard, and it went through the 90 or whatever was holding it up. I assume it was a 90. I pushed about 4 or 5 feet. I stopped and went and looked at the other end, and it had just poked out of the conduit at the other end. So I never got up and took a chance on, because see, I'm by myself today. So had I had another person at the other end, I could have been way more rough, could have been a lot more aggressive, and not worry about that thing coming out of the pipe and running up there and smashing into those little LC jumpers and breaking a strand or whatever. But by myself, I was careful. Just used a little experience, knowing, okay, coming out of that 90 up through there should be 5 or 6 feet. I got lucky. I hadn't poked out of the conduit maybe 6-8 inches, but it was there. I just wanted to do a quick review on this rod. Yeah, it's super cheap. I'm sure it's made in China. I didn't really pay any attention to any of that. But the bottom line is it did save the day. And first time using it's already paid for itself in my book 10 times. Because nothing's worse than going back to the person you're working for and saying, hey, I can't do this, I can't get it. Either send somebody else or put in a new conduit. Well, this site's pretty rough, it's pretty tight. There's not a lot of nice things about this site. To come in here and peel back this gravel and run in another conduit. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 carriers here, so there's crap everywhere. Actually, there was 5. There's a carrier in the very back that's now gone on an empty pad. But who knows what you'd hit, grounding-wise, conduit-wise, It would just be a real pain in the butt to bury another conduit all the way around to the cell provider that I'm working for. So anyway, sorry this video was so long, but I thought it might help somebody, pick you up one of these, whether it's a cheapie like this or a higher quality one. But bottom line is, this ultra cheap. I just cannot get over how cheap this thing was delivered free to my house. Like I say, I mean, I could look up the details, but I want to say it was 120, maybe $129 delivered, free shipping. That's crazy. And this sucker's really long. You know, I'll probably never use all that, but who knows? I have had some cell sites where, you know, the access road, there's you know, could be almost a mile of access road, and from pull box to pull box is 400 feet. I think this, if I remember right, this 8mm tape is 485, so that would work no matter what for the most part, unless, you know, unless I just have a really weird situation somewhere. But anyway, I probably won't use this guy very much. It definitely won't stay on my truck, but it sure is nice to have for situations like this where otherwise I would have never been able to achieve this. I would have never been able to get this mule tape in this pipe. So anyway, Bill Burks here. Hope you like it. Leave me a comment if you've got a similar experience or whatever. But that's it for the video. Thanks.